Summertime, time, and the living is easy. Fish are jumping, cotton and corn are high. Oh, your dad is rich, and your ma, she's not bad looking. So, hush, little baby, don't you cry. One of these mornings, you're gonna rise and start singing. Then you'll spread your wings and take the sky. But till that morning, no, there is nothing can harm you, because you've got your daddy and mama standing by. Summertime, the living is easy. Fish are jumping, cotton and corn are high. Oh, your dad is rich, and your ma is good looking. So, hush, little baby, don't you cry. One of these mornings, you're gonna rise and start singing. Then you'll spread your wings and take the sky. But till that morning, no, there is nothing can harm you, because you got your daddy and mama standing by. You've got your daddy and mama standing by.
For those of you who are somewhat new here, that's Geneva Price. She was with this church for 34 years. She made her transition in February. But the reason she's singing this morning is a regular singer, Jerome, called out of town unexpectedly. I tried everybody, and I couldn't get a single replacement. So this morning we're going to be watching some Goldie oldies from the people that have been here for a long time, the people that you love.
Good morning, everyone. Welcome to Unity Temple on the Plaza, where diversity is praised and peace and harmony are the rewards. So today's a very special day. It's a dedication to fathers. So if you're a father, would you mind standing, or if standing is not possible for you, then raise your hands. Give them a round of applause. Ladies, if you're next to your husbands at this moment in time and your parents, just look at him and remember, that's why you're a father. And I wouldn't be here without mine, so I'm very grateful for him as well. We've got a few different announcements. If you look in your bulletins, you'll see some amazing ones coming up. And also, so on Saturday, June 24th, you got Self-Sabotage, which is a class that's coming up. Then also the date for 8. And so if you're interested in engaging and getting to know some other members of the church, that would be a great opportunity to get out and have some dinner and great conversation. So now We will begin our service with the temple chimes, the opening prayer, and the call to inspiration. Recite with me. On this day, we dedicate ourselves to peace on earth. We accept ourselves without harsh judgment and express appreciation for our individuality. We live without fear to meet the events of this day with confidence. We accept others without prejudice to experience a sense of unity with all people. We honor our earthly environment and recognize a sense of oneness with all creation, in harmony with ourselves, our lives, other people, and all of nature. We live this day with a peaceful mind, a peaceful heart, and a peaceful spirit. Thank you, God. Amen.
Good morning, Unity Temple on the Plaza. I can't tell you how happy I am to be back here, and especially today being, as it's Father's Day. I'm not going to say I was the best father or am the best father. I'm also not going to say I was the worst, but I am honored to have my son Aaron and my daughter Angela and their mom Karen in the room this morning. And mindful of, let me just ask if anybody recognizes this name when I throw it out here. Christy Kronemeyer. Okay, that was quite a while ago. Christy used to teach an adult Sunday school class up here in the balcony. And my mother was devout Unity, but my father was devout fundamentalist Baptist Christian. So I grew up in a very interesting dynamic that I'm actually grateful for, because I think that my dad sort of gave me sort of a fire to my ministry over the years. But I know that he used to sit up there in these classes with Christy, and she was totally Unity, and they would get into polite but definite arguments about the nature of God and the nature of the life of Jesus. So he gave her a run for her money, and I'm sure, knowing Christy, she was a very powerful woman. If you don't know this, we have a lot of very powerful women in the Unity movement, for which I'm grateful. So that was my dad. He provided, I would say it was not necessarily a stressless relationship that I had with him over the years, but he brought me some really great abilities and talents, and I thought it was very interesting being here this morning. It was in 1999, Duke, that you had invited me to come speak here, and my father had been ill from a fall, but not critical necessarily. He was in the hospital at that time, and I was going to speak here, and which I did. He had never been able to come hear me speak ever because of his physical condition, and that morning, while I was addressing the congregation at Unity Temple, he passed away. And I thought that was not by accident. I felt like he came to hear me speak, and I feel like for sure he's in the room today. So I invite you today, and maybe throughout this day and throughout this week, to give some thought to how your father is or was a gift in your life. And I realize that these relationships can be strained at times. We didn't all perhaps grow up with idyllic father figures. But what I found is that I had the perfect person in the perfect place at the perfect time in my life to be my dad. And I believe that's true for all of us, because I think we make these decisions even before we arrive on the planet. And it's a setup. We always have the right people in our lives. And just consider how your father may have been a gift in your life, or is today a gift in your life, and take a moment to give thanks for that. Because it truly is, I think, a divine conspiracy that's operating on behalf of all of us in our favor, that we do have the right people in the right places in our lives at all times. So there seems to have been this mother that was trying to get her son to wake up and go to church one morning. And he was being belligerent. He didn't want to go, and he was asking her to go away, leave him alone. She kept rapping at the door of his bedroom. And she says, "Give me 2 good reasons why you shouldn't go to church this morning." And she hears the voice on the other side of the door. "Well, Mom, for one thing, nobody there likes me. And for another thing, I don't like anybody there." Then he says, "Give me 2 reasons why I should go." And the mother responds by saying, "Well, first of all, you're 54 years old. And secondly, you're the pastor." So I'm here this morning, and I didn't have to get my mom to wake me up. I wanted to come back and share some more from the ongoing development of this book that I'm writing. I shared with you the last time I spoke that this is a book on what I call valuable living, learning to live in integrity and authenticity with what is most important to you. And please hear me on this. I'm not talking about what was most important to any of the well-meaning authority figures in your life, your mother, your father, or anybody else. I'm certainly not talking about what was most important to religious authorities and figures in your life. Whatever religious authorities are, I'm still trying to figure that out. I'm asking you to look inside yourself and say, what is most important to me? And the means by which I personally have accomplished what I believe to be the art of living a more valuable life is by becoming increasingly aware of the first few moments when I get up in the morning. And the last time I was with you, I threw out a couple questions, a few actually. The first one was, am I authentic? And by that what I meant was, am I living in integrity with what I truly believe myself to be? And most of us are always striving to live in integrity with what we understand ourselves to be, especially here in Unity, because we have a rather high ideal. We believe that we are the Christ. You have to be very kind and considerate with yourself when you believe you're the Christ, because perhaps every day you're not going to wake up and express that 100% authentically. But to just check in and say, how authentically am I living with what I believe myself to be, and what I believe are the most important characteristics of a human being on this planet? The second question I suggested you consider was, am I relaxed? And most of us would consider that we are relaxed most of the time, I hope. And yet I believe if we really look at ourselves, what we will come to discover is that we're losing one of our ears here slightly, but what we'll come to discover is that there are pockets of tension that reside within our bodies, and certainly conflictual states that exist within our minds. I believe relaxation is the single most important ingredient in our spiritual journey. And the way I phrase that is just chill out. Chill out. You know, how many of you have been through huge traumas in your life? And I'm not saying these aren't impactful and significant. I'm just saying huge traumas, and you only come to realize later that they turned out to be the greatest blessings that you've ever experienced in your life. I think all of us have had that experience where we, over the years, and the longer we're on the planet, we realize there's always something emerging or breaking through that which appears to be breaking down. And the third question that I invited you to consider was, how grateful are you on a day-to-day basis? There's a natural tendency, I think, on humans' parts to look at what's not going right in our world, as opposed to looking at what is going right and how we are blessed. And I guarantee you, right now in this very moment, there's a plethora, an infinite number of different things that you can be grateful for. Just take a moment and put your hand in front of your face, if you would. Now, wiggle your fingers. How is it that you are doing that? That is a miraculous activity. And we do it all the time. We're always reaching for things, grabbing for things, writing things. We're using our hands. It's miraculous in nature. The thing is, we become somewhat sedated to this reality because we buy into the troubles and the turmoil that's constantly being thrown our way through external sources, resources. The fourth question that I want to ask you this morning, and it's a little deeper, I think, is this. What is my mind making? What is my mind making? Now, to explore this question a little bit, I'm going to delve into the 5 basic unity principles. I know everyone in the room knows all 5 basic unity fundamental principles by heart, correct? Well, it's okay, because I've never walked in anywhere where everybody knew all 5 of them completely. We're only going to deal with one of them today, and that one is going to be the law, succinctly stated, the law of mind action, which we sometimes refer to as thoughts held in mind produce after their kind. Thoughts held in mind. Now, there's an infinite parade of thoughts that are racing in and out of our minds every day. I'm not concerned this morning, and I don't think you need to be either, with the ones that are just passing through. We're talking about the thoughts that you hold in your mind. And I believe that you're going to hold these thoughts in your mind because for whatever reason, you value them. You think they're important. You think that they matter. And so you cling to them. You hold on to them. And thoughts are very interesting. They're very sociable in nature, I believe. Like thoughts like to invite other similar thoughts over for an evening's entertainment. They have little parties in our minds, and they get to know each other really well. They become like a community, and before you know it, they're invested with some feelings. So now you don't just have a thought, you've got some kind of feeling that goes with that thought, be it negative or positive or good or bad or right or wrong. It doesn't matter. If you've allowed the thought to take up residency, to purchase real estate in your consciousness, in your mind, it's going to begin to attract other similar thoughts, and together in their social nature, they form with feelings into beliefs. Now you've got something that's going to be very interesting for you to work with. It's a belief. And don't you know, with beliefs, my friends, we tend to really believe what we believe, and we do so with a fervency and a dedication and a commitment that makes it very difficult for us to release beliefs. I often think of beliefs as being like the railing or the handrail on a staircase. As you ascend the staircase, stair by stair, you need to grab a hold of that handle in order to secure your stability. But what happens if you step up and the moment comes when you're ready to take another step up on the staircase and you're not willing to let go of that handrail? You're going to be prohibiting yourself from moving forward. So rather this morning than us thinking about beliefs as being something that is carved in stone, if you can do this, I'd like for you to think of your beliefs as being etched in butter. Etched in butter, which means a belief is incredibly valuable to you when you are holding it and when you are using it, but to be mindful that right now in this moment, for example, I believe there are at least a dozen beliefs that are probably asking you to release them because you're evolving, you're growing, we're all evolving, we're all growing, we're all expanding. And so also then must our belief system expand with us. So as we look at this idea of what is most important to us in life, what is most valuable to us, I want us to think of it in terms of a movie. A movie. Now, a couple weeks ago, Karen and my granddaughter Ash and my daughter Angela and I went to see The Little Mermaid, the new live-action movie. Has anybody seen that? Not too many. A few Disney fans in the room. Excuse me. I went primarily because that movie, in its animated format, had been so instrumental in my daughter's life and also in my granddaughter's life, and I just wanted to see what Disney Studios had been able to do to enhance it and bring it into a live-action film. And the first thing I have to say is the kinship that I've always felt with Walt Disney grew very strong during the course of that movie because I was just thinking about the innovative, imaginative spirit of Walt Disney and how if he were in that theater, and for all I know, his spirit very possibly was in that theater, how he would have marveled at what technology has been able to do. It was incredible. I had forgotten the intensity of one of the closing scenes. If you recall the storyline of Little Mermaid at all, there is a sea witch. And the sea witch's name is Ursula. And she is a little demon indeed. In the animated motion picture, she was fearful, but she wasn't, as I saw it anyway, in those cute little animated figures, she wasn't violent. But in the movie, Melissa McCarthy, who, by the way, I think did a superb job portraying this character, she was a force to be reckoned with. And at the end of the movie, when the sea witch emerges, she actually transforms herself into a beautiful young lady to try to appeal to the prince and steal him from the Little Mermaid. And to do this, initially she's a beautiful lady, but when she doesn't get her way, she starts turning into this incredible octopus-like creature with huge sweeping tentacles. And it's an act of violence to watch this on the screen because those tentacles are sweeping across the deck of the ship and just mercilessly throwing people out into the water, and it was traumatic, for me at least, in that evening. And there was a moment when I honestly forgot that I was in a movie theater. Have you ever had that happen? Where you're watching a movie and the cinematic magic of it just gets to a place where you forget you're watching a movie and you think you're in a real life situation. Now just imagine what would have happened to me if I had run down to that screen because I didn't like what Ursula was doing, what Melissa McCarthy was doing, and I started screaming at the sea witch and saying, "Stop that, change your ways. You know, you need to come to Unity and learn how to be a decent human being." I don't think I would be here in this room today because I think that I would have been institutionalized 2 weeks ago. And you might have been a part of that. If you saw somebody in a movie theater that mistook the movie for real life and they were running down there trying to dictate the characters what they should be doing, how they should be doing it, what they should not be doing, how they shouldn't be doing it, people would think you were nuts. And yet, I really believe that's the way most of us live our lives. If you think of your life like a movie, and there's something happening in your life that you don't like, what do? For a lot of us, we run out and we demand that people change their ways, their behaviors. We demand that they take different kinds of actions in different ways. We scream and holler and carry on with the cast of characters outside of us, all the while forgetting that the cast of characters is never outside of us, my friends. It really isn't. I believe this with all my heart after so many years of trying to understand spiritual teachings. This whole drama is going on inside of me. And the question then becomes, can I take responsibility for this and start to realize that when something's not going the way I prefer that it go, I'm the one that needs the attention, not all of this cast of characters out here. If you want to change the movie, you don't go to the screen outside of you, onto which all the characters of your life are being presented. You go inside of you. You ask the question, what is the internal dynamic inside of me that is projecting outward as a situation or a personality that I don't like or I can't stand? This is called taking responsibility for our lives. And even though it seems overwhelming to me at times, I have to say that the reality is it's very liberating. Because if I have created the experience that I am projecting out onto the screen myself, I alone can change it. No one else can do it for me, and no one else needs to do it for me. So my question is, can you imagine for a moment that you are the writer? You are the one who has selected the cast. You have put together the scenarios, the script, for every experience in your life. You are the director and you are the producer. And in that realization, can you then begin to support yourself in getting into that projection room of your own consciousness and dealing with the thought patterns, the feelings, and the beliefs that are projecting or creating this reality that extends outside of you? And I believe every one of us can do that. I think the level of personal freedom that comes from being able to do that is the impetus that changes the world outside of us. So in the same sense, we see something on the news, and Lord knows the news is full of wicked forecasts these days. And I'm not saying it isn't appropriate at times to take action. Of course it is. But not until we have first gone into the sanctuary of our own mind, heart, and soul to say, what is mine to adjust? How can I alter the lens through which I'm experiencing this drama of my life in such a way that will allow me to be an agent of peace and goodwill and compassion and understanding in my world? And it begins by being peaceful and understanding and compassionate with ourselves. I think the only way we're ever going to see a peaceful world, and I love that statement, Duke. I think you wrote it years ago that you opened these services with. I love that statement, because it tells us very clearly that our peaceful heart, our peaceful mind, is the means through which we create a peaceful world. And if you think about it, it makes a lot of sense, because we are the world, as was quoted so beautifully in a song so many years ago. We are the world. Just want to invite you to join me right now in taking a very deep breath. And what I'm going to share with you, you are free, and I hope you know that about anything you hear. I'm going to presume this, Duke, from this platform. You're free to accept it or deny it, because I'm not up here to try to convince you really of anything. I'm certainly not here to act as a religious authority, because the only religious authority that's worth listening to is in your own heart. So I'm going to lay this out for you. You do with it what you like. It might resonate with you, and if it does, bingo. You might have considered it before. You want to continue embracing it, or you might say, I'm not interested in accepting that idea at all. But here it is. What you experience in your life, you are experiencing because you want to experience it. Might make it easier if I put it in the first person. What I experience in my life, I am experiencing because I want to experience it. I want to experience it because I believe it has value. And when you look at the experiences of your life, there may be some things there that you're not able to really say, nah, I don't value that, it's just happening to me. And that's a fine position to hold, so long as you choose to hold it. It's just that for me, it continually puts me back in the lap of victimization. And I don't want to live my life anymore as a victim of people and circumstances and things and situations outside of me. I really want to take hold of that. So when I say, all right, what's being experienced in my life is being experienced because in some way I find value in it, now I can begin to probe into myself and use my life as a reflection through which I can identify that which I have found valuable, therefore held in my consciousness, and am now producing into the movie or the drama of my life. And that's at times a little bit of an overwhelming task, but again, it's so helpful to me, for me. And I believe it could be for you. If you just try it on this morning, what's happening in my life is happening because I want it to happen. I want it to happen because I find value in it. If I don't want it to happen, I have the ability to explore what it is that I am finding valuable in my mind about it and make a different choice. Release something I've held as being valuable and embrace something else. I believe that in the midst of all this value stuff, there is a divine orchestration, or what I previously referred to as the divine conspiracy. And I think it's working on behalf of yourself and all of us on the planet. I think the value system, whatever it is that we are holding right now, is the right and perfect value system for us in this moment. So there's no judgment, there's no condemnation here. I have discovered by looking at the movie of my life that there are some things that I value that I'm not particularly proud of. And so they're showing up in my life in ways that make me not so proud or not so content or not so fulfilled or so happy. It's okay, because my value system is evolving just as I am under the auspices of something greater, something grander that I can trust. And to tell you a little bit about this, I'm going to go back in time to the 1970s, ancient times, the 1970s. Back to the 1970s. Now, I did grow up in Unity. I told you that last week or last time I was speaking here. I did grow up in Unity, and that was a tremendous blessing. But a lot of people say, oh, it must have been just peaches and cream growing up in Unity. I'm looking at my kids because they grew up in Unity too, and they know it wasn't peaches and cream. You know, none of us are exempt from the human condition. The Unity teachings are incredibly valuable to a young person, I believe, as they're growing and adopting in the world. But none of us are exempt from being a human being on this planet. And such was the case with myself. I was here at Unity Temple for so many years until my early teen years, and then I went through a period where I didn't really want to have much to do with church. And one of the biggest reasons for that was, let me just ask you, and I think I know the answer, but we'll see. How many of you would consider yourself to be even the slightest bit rebellious? This is a safe space. I've always been incredibly rebellious. If you want me to do something, do not tell me that I have to do it, because I won't do it. I'm just got that natural sort of rebel streak. And when I got into my college years, the rebel came out fierce and strong. You know, they say that we repress some of these aspects of our personalities, but they don't really go anywhere. They just build and fester. And I think that's what happened to me, to a point where when I got into college over at Kansas State University in Manhattan, Kansas, I was ready to let the rebel out all the way. I was not there to pursue an education, to study, to become a better person. I just wanted to be as rebellious as I could be. I had grown up in a rather oppressive kind of environment, and I was ready to explore the world. And I wanted to bring that adventure on as strongly and completely as I could, and I did. And I didn't last very long at Kansas State University because I got involved in alcohol and drugs and all kinds of wild, reckless living. I did that because of my value system, which embraced things like being a rebel, things like just wanting to be irresponsible and let the whole world go, have a good time. And I had some really great times in those early months at Kansas State University. But it ended up culminating with not such a good time, because in this adventurous spirit, I popped a little tab of LSD, and turned out not to be such a good experience for me. And now give me a break. Cut me a little slack here. This was the 1970s, okay? This was the tail end of the hippie generation, so that's where I was. But this was not a good experience, and it ended up that I dropped out of school, and I went back to Kansas City. My folks then were living over in Ruskin Heights, and I was not in good shape. I was depressed. I had lost my reason and purpose for living. I didn't know what was going on. I just was grateful to be back home and safe. And my mother came home one Sunday morning. By that point, she had started attending because they moved away, and she wasn't coming to the Plaza anymore. She was going to the village. She came home and she said, "Oh, they made an announcement this morning. They're looking for a tour guide." This was 1975. They have a tour guide position open, and I think you'd be perfect for it. Well, I looked at myself in the mirror. My hair was down to about here in the back. I didn't think I was the most likely candidate for a job at Unity Village. I went and got a haircut, went over, and I sat down and interviewed with a lady who still lives over in Lee Summit. Her name was Marge Dale, and she and her husband Bill were managing the public relations department at Unity Village back then. And she hired me. And I later asked her, "Why in the world did you hire me? I was the most unlikely candidate." She looked at me and said, "I don't have the foggiest idea." And yet that launched me into a 26-year-long career at Unity Village that was a highlight of my life. I raised my family during those years, lived out at Unity Village, and went on then to become the minister that I always knew I wanted to be. In fact, I like to say that those rough, wayward years in the 1970s, that's when I began ministerial training. It did not happen in a classroom or in a textbook. It happened in real life by going through some of those challenges and some of that turmoil so that I could really relate to people when they were going through those kind of situations themselves. So in a way, in a very real way, all of that was perfect. Now, was my value system perfect in the 1970s? Heavens no. It was anything but that. Did it prompt me to make some really stupid, unwise decisions? Yes, and I can say that without casting a lot of harsh judgment on myself, because I was learning, because I was growing, and because there was a part of me, that rebel, that needed to stay alive and that needed to thrive. And it has all the years since that time. Sometimes brought me really great fortune, and sometimes brought me a lot of challenges and difficulties. But I wouldn't trade it for anything. So I still value being the rebel. I've just learned how to take that value and invest it in a different kind of way. So whatever your value system might be this morning, and as you're looking at this, hopefully in the morning when your question's on your mind, what is it that I'm really valuing? What is it that through my values my mind is manufacturing as the movie of my life? You'll give yourself the patience, you'll give yourself the confidence, and the understanding that your value system is continuing to grow, continuing to expand, and that you inevitably are in the process of becoming a more phenomenal expression of the divine every day, whether you realize it or not. So you can look at your life, you can identify your values by identifying your experience. I'm telling you, friends, this is the most valuable work I've ever done, and that's why I'm so excited about putting this book together. And what becomes of the book is what becomes of the book. What I know is I have to put this into some kind of greater expression because of what it's doing in my own life. Being able to look and take ownership of my experience in life and where I'm going and what it's doing. You consciously choose all the time. I'll say all the time. No, I will say you sometimes consciously choose and sometimes unconsciously choose your values. There are a lot of values that we've inherited, again, from well-meaning authorities in the past that are not really perhaps serving us today. But you'll know by looking at the value and asking yourself whether or not it resonates in your heart, whether it belongs to you as you are currently manifesting in this world. To more consciously evaluate what's most important to you and what's most valuable to you, I have 4 questions for you to consider. The first one is this, and it's not really a question. Be clear about what matters most to you. Be clear. If you don't do anything else from the words that I'm sharing this morning, I would encourage you to just give some thought this afternoon to what the 3 or 4 or 5 most important things in life are to you. Take the time to really check in with that. What's most important to me? What matters to me most? Number 2, monitor your thoughts, your feelings, and your beliefs so that to the best of your ability, you're ensuring that they are aligned with what matters to you most. What matters to me most, to what degree are my thoughts, my feelings, and my beliefs aligned with what matters to me most? Number 3, be aware when thoughts, feelings, and beliefs you are holding are in conflict with that which matters most to you. A lot of energy, my friends, is spent between knowing what's important to us and acting out of authenticity with it. It produces a lot of stress, it produces a lot of turmoil in our life, and I don't think it's really necessary. And number 4, finally, release thoughts and feelings and beliefs that are not aligned with what matters most to you. Now you say, okay, you just stood up there and say, well, if you get a hold of a value and you really don't want to value it anymore, you want to release it, just let it go. That doesn't seem to be that simple all the time in life. But here's the gift of this, my friends. In your authentic nature, you are heir to infinite intelligence and creativity. When you need help or support in accomplishing anything in life, you can call upon that. In Unity, we refer to that as the Christ Spirit. You're not alone in this game. You have phenomenal, unbelievably potent powers available to you that can help you as you begin to consciously embrace what is most important and meaningful to you in life and release that which is not. And I'll tell you this, I've come to believe that there are few, if any, things more powerful on this planet than a person who really has taken the time to go into their heart, ask them what is most important to them, and to live in integrity with it. That is not the most powerful demonstration you'll ever see on this planet. If you want to make a difference in the world, and I think every one of us does in this room right now, we want to make a contribution so that the world is a happier, more peaceful place and more fulfilling place for all of us. The way to do that is the internal work of recognizing what contribution am I making to this collective whole? What values am I holding and considering to be important in my life that are contributing to the collective consciousness of humanity? That's, again, how we change things. So often, we cannot change people and circumstances outside of us. Anybody in the room tried to change another person? I've tried and tried and tried, and I've never been successful. But when I seek to change myself, I succeed at every turn. It may take a while, it may take some brutal self-honesty, but I can do it. And I believe that every one of us in this room can as well. What you think about, you bring about. What you think about, you bring about. That's the ingredient, the magic ingredient that creates the experience of your life. So take a deep breath, adjust your remote control, make sure your seat is comfortable, check the volume on your TV set, and enjoy the movie of your life.
As we move into meditation, I invite you to make yourself comfortable. Close your eyes, take a deep breath, hold it for a moment or two, and then slowly exhale, feeling every part of your body become more relaxed. As we embark upon this journey inward, it's to a place of peace, your place of peace. This time is for you to set aside any disruptive thoughts, any antagonisms, any fear or stress. And in this moment, just be. slowly begin to come back for meditation. And as I speak these words, please make them your own and repeat them back to yourself. I give my heartfelt gratitude for the life that I have. I give my heartfelt gratitude for the person I am. I give my heartfelt gratitude for the life that I have lived. I give my heartfelt gratitude for the life I will live. But first and foremost, of the utmost importance, I give my heartfelt gratitude for this moment here and now. And so it is.
We are called to act with justice. We are called to love tenderly. We are called to serve one another. We are called to walk with God. Come live in the light. Come open your hearts. Come sing a new song for the world. We will walk with each other as brothers and sisters in spirit, in love.
I invite you now to take your love offering in your hands and join with me in the offering blessing. Divine love, through me, blesses and multiplies all that I give and all that I receive. And so it is. We bless these gifts and the givers and know that these gifts go forward to bless this temple and all those whose lives we touch.
Look all around.
In a moment, we're going to do our Father's Day slideshow. But I ran across something this week that I think is worthy of pondering. I'm going to read it to you. In order for you to be born, you needed a father, you needed a grandfather, you needed a great-grandfather, a third great-grandfather, fourth great-grandfather. And if you follow that all the way back for 400 years, there were 2,047 men that had to participate in your creation to be here today. If any one of those men wouldn't have, if one would have gotten killed in a car accident before you're conceived or whatever it might have been, you wouldn't exist. So all those 2,047 men, fathers, we give great tribute in this slideshow.
Thank you all for joining us for this hour of inspiration. If this is your first time, I want to welcome you. And if any of you are interested, after the service today, there's refreshments downstairs so you can have some coffee, some cookies, and some great conversation. So I welcome you to join us down there. And thank you, Reverend Chris and Robert, for the amazing service today. There was a lot of gifts in that conversation, things to take home, to ponder, and just carry through with you for the rest of this week and this month. And now, if you would join me with the closing prayer and the peace song. The light of God surrounds us, the love of God enfolds us, the power of God protects us, the presence of God watches over us. Wherever we are, God is, and all is well.